You hear the word addicted, and your mind jumps to something toxic, a trap, a set of tricks that hook a woman's nervous system against her will. That's not what you're about to learn. What most men call addiction in love is really a deep, voluntary attachment to a man whose life radiates meaning, scarcity, steadiness, and direction, so consistently that her attention keeps returning to him even when the room goes loud. It isn't hypnosis. It isn't manipulation. It's alignment. When you embody a certain mixture of signals, self-respect with warmth, purpose with play, boundaries with generosity, mystery with presence, women don't just notice you, they orbit you. They think about you in the gaps. They check their phone after a meeting. They replay what you said in the car. They invest without being asked. The pull feels like compulsion, only because it's rare. Your job is not to make anyone addicted. Your job is to become the kind of man who magnetizes the right woman so strongly that chasing would feel like an insult to the gravity you already carry. Begin by throwing away the fantasy that effort equals attraction. Most men exhaust themselves because they confuse pressure with power. They push, prove, convince, and explain as if desire were a math problem. Add compliments, subtract boundaries, multiply availability, and the result is devotion. It never is. Attraction is not a receipt for hours invested. It's a response to signals her nervous system trusts. Erich Fromm warned that love born from need collapses under weight, while love born from fullness sustains. If you want a woman to keep returning to you in thought and action, you must stop outsourcing your worth and start living from a center you don't rent to anyone. The paradox appears the moment you commit to it. The less you need her attention to breathe, the more naturally she seeks your presence, because your presence starts to feel like oxygen, clear, steady, unforced. You do that by installing a spine of standards that never argues with itself. Standards are not rules you use to police others. They are promises you make to yourself about how you spend time, who gets access, and what you refuse to trade for approval. When you live by standards, your calendar has bones. Your yes means something because it's not on sale. Your no lands gently because it's not a threat. It's a boundary that already existed before the request arrived. A woman feels this in small moments. You don't drop your training because she's suddenly free at 9. You suggest a window that respects your morning. You don't text all day to keep a balloon in the air. You message with attention, then you go live. You don't tolerate last-minute chaos as a lifestyle. You calibrate once, then you let patterns reveal whether you fit. Your consistency becomes a lighthouse. Lighthouses don't chase boats. They stand in storms. The steadier you are, the more she relaxes into you, and relaxation is the soil where attachment grows. But steadiness by itself is just a rock. The current that keeps her returning is purpose. You don't need a cinematic mission. You need direction you respect. Viktor Frankl described meaning as the axis of resilience. On a practical level, meaning makes your week look different from drift. You protect 90 minutes for deep work, not because a guru said so, but because your craft buys your future. You train even when nobody notices, because your body is the tool your mind uses to carry pressure. You schedule rest like a responsibility. You invest in skills that compound. You set quarterly targets and let them shape your days. A woman feels purpose before she hears it. It shows in the way you speak about your work, with clarity, not audition. It shows in the way you decline distractions, with warmth, not apology. It shows in how you end a night on time, when it would be easy to bend. Purpose reframes every interaction. You stop trying to be chosen by anyone who can fog a mirror. You invite someone to join a path that exists with or without her. That's the frame switch that ignites pursuit, because she is no longer evaluating a face. She is evaluating a story she wants to be part of. From here, the engine of compulsion starts to assemble. Selective attention. Attention is the most expensive thing you own. Robert Cialdini's work on scarcity makes something obvious that men forget in romance. What's abundant without criteria becomes invisible. If your attention is the faucet that never closes, she will not drink. She will step over the puddle. When your attention is generous and precise, present when present, absent when absent, given where it multiplies rather than evaporates, you become the rare relief from a culture of open tabs. You check the phone at the door. You listen like a student. You ask questions that require a real answer. Then you disappear into your work without turning absence into a punishment. You are not playing hard to get. You are hard to interrupt. That rhythm, deep presence bracketed by respectful distance, is addictive for a simple reason. It creates anticipation. Blaise Pascal noted that the mind leans toward what it can't fully grasp at once. Connection fed in meaningful doses with room for breath between notes becomes music. Endless notes become noise. You are building a soundtrack, not a siren. Mystery then draws its contour around you, not as secrecy from insecurity, but as pacing from self-possession. You do not dump your autobiography on the first night. You reveal in proportion to investment. You let her discover the edges of your world in chapters. The project that humbled you this month, the city that reshaped your patience, the mentor who told you the sentence you still carry. You hold back certain rituals as sacred, your morning training, your Sunday review, your quiet reading in a chair that nobody else sits in, not to tease, but to protect the roots that keep you grounded. Mystery is not game, it is respect for the slow burn. Curiosity is the lever that makes humans lean forward. You give it a reason. When she leaves, she has questions, not because you were evasive, but because you live a life that cannot be consumed in a single sitting. Questions pull thoughts back at 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. That pull feels like addiction when the rest of her world is saturated with oversharing and underliving. All of this fails if you're emotionally unstable. Compelling men feel deeply, but they refuse to let feelings drive the car. Jealousy knocks, anxiety barks, anger flares. You don't deny any of it. You build a pause long enough to choose. You lift before you text. You breathe before you reply. You ask for clarity instead of inventing stories. You say, "I'm noticing I'm reactive. I want to talk when I can be fair." That sentence does more for attachment than any speech about being a good man. Why? Because it shows a nervous system she can trust with her own. She can bring emotion without fearing an explosion. She can disagree without being punished. She can test a boundary, not to play games but to read your edges, and watch you respond with warmth that doesn't fold. The first time you say, "I don't do last-minute changes, but I'd like to see you. Let's pick a time tomorrow." And then you hold it calmly. Her body registers a rare signal. Safety with spine. Safety alone gets you liked. Spine alone gets you feared. Safety braided to spine is what keeps her thinking about you while she's pouring coffee. Competence is the visible proof that your standards apply to yourself first. Humans are drawn to capability because capability reduces chaos. You don't have to be rich. You need to be reliable. Your room stays ordered not for Instagram, but because external order reduces the micro-frictions that make you reactive. Your finances have a plan you actually follow. Your car looks like a grown man drives it. Your clothes fit your frame and context. You cook real food. You fix what breaks, or you call the person who can. You keep promises you make to yourself when nobody is looking. Alarms, reps, reading, savings, and the memory of those promises changes how you stand. You start to carry a hum that others feel without knowing why. It's the confidence that doesn't need a witness. Women find that hum magnetic not because of status, but because competence tells the future the relationship is less likely to drown in preventable chaos. The weight of life will arrive. She's deciding whether you can carry your half. When your competence is paired with humility, the willingness to say, "I don't know, but I'll find out," you become the rare man who feels both safe and alive. Play keeps the whole thing human. Stoicism without levity becomes a statue. You don't have to be a comedian. You need the lightness that comes from not needing to win every moment. You tease with kindness. You find the absurd detail that breaks tension. You laugh at yourself first. You let banter breathe without turning it into a contest. Playfulness signals surplus, time, energy, attention. Men who are starving for validation don't play. They perform. Performance is brittle. It cracks under silence. Play absorbs silence and turns it into a grin. That's why a single shared laugh on a Tuesday night can echo Wednesday afternoon and make her open your thread before meeting number 3. It's not because you delivered a line. It's because you delivered a feeling that her nervous system wants again. Now take these elements and watch how they weave into scenes that generate that can't stop thinking about him energy without a single manipulative move. You meet her after a talk. You don't rush to recite your resume. You offer a real observation about her question to the panel and ask something that requires attention to answer. You stand still in your body. You let a silence hang and watch her lean into it. You end before the energy sags. You send one text that night or the next morning, no drip feed. Just a clear invitation that respects your calendar and hers. Tuesday or Thursday, early evening, quiet spot, 7 works. If she can't, you ask for her window once. If she's vague, you let it be vague. When she chooses a time, you confirm. And you show up 5 minutes early because rushing crushes presence. You sit like a man whose spine remembers him. You ask about moments that bent her life, not just favorite travel spots. You share slices that reveal values, not stories engineered to impress. You watch how she treats the server, not to judge, but because micro moments predict macro patterns. You keep your phone away without inflating the gesture. You end the night on a high beat, not a long fade. If the moment asks, you kiss. If it doesn't, you trust that restraint amplifies tension more than pressure ever will. Between dates, you do the radical thing in a culture of panic. You let reciprocity co-author momentum. You're not absent, you're rhythmic. You check in with intent and advance the story. You invite, you propose, you listen. If energy mirrors, you move. If it dips, you don't panic tap the balloon with multiple messages. You return to your life and you re-engage when your schedule says present. The hidden message is clean. My attention is real when it's here and absent when it's not. That predictability is a relief. Most men oscillate between flood and drought. You provide seasons. Seasons are addictive because they make memory. She starts to associate you with a particular feeling. Energized, seen, settled, slightly challenged. The association is the attachment. It's why certain songs hit and others vanish, texture and timing. Conflict is the crucible. Without it, attraction can be a glittering surface with no depth. The first friction will arrive. A short tone at the end of a long day. A last-minute reschedule. A misunderstanding that spikes heart rate. The weak script chases peace by collapsing or explodes to reclaim power. You do neither. You articulate a boundary without drama and pair it with an invitation. I want to see you and I plan my week. If we're going to make it work, I need confirmations day before. If that's not where you're at, no problem. Then you shut up and watch behavior. Words charm in the short term. Patterns tell the truth in the long term. If she adjusts, respect grows. Respect is the skeleton of desire. If she doesn't, respect for yourself grows as you step away. You become unforgettable to the right woman, not because you never bend, but because you never break in the places that define you. Escalation, emotional, intellectual, physical, becomes a study in consent and pacing. You don't race. You don't stall out of fear. You follow reality. You read breath and eyes and sentences. You check in without turning intimacy into a questionnaire. You lead with clarity. I like where this is going. And you keep your hands connected to a mind that can stop without sulking. Restraint is a rare signal now. It announces that your body is led by a man. That signal lets her relax deeper. Relaxation plus challenge equals intensity. Intensity multiplied by consistency equals attachment. She starts initiating plans, sending articles that made her think of you, asking about your week in ways that reveal she knows your rhythm. You didn't engineer it. You created conditions where her investment makes sense. Distance tests whether you're a performance or a practice. Work trips happen. Family needs spike. Schedules misalign. You pre-frame, this week is stacked, I'll reach out Sunday to lock next. Then you do exactly that. No complaining, no disappearing act. You keep your world moving, and you keep your word. Dependability is the most underrated aphrodisiac. It makes the next date feel like a continuation, not a rescue. It teaches her nervous system that being into you won't require crisis management. That relief is the glue most men try to buy with flowers. You can still bring flowers. They land twice as deep when they sit on top of a foundation. There is a darker layer to this, dark only because it demands more of you than tactics. You must confront your shadow, or it will open the door in the back of your house and let neediness in at 1 a.m. Carl Jung didn't suggest killing the shadow. He recommended integrating it. Integration looks like noticing the flare of jealousy and saying, I feel threatened, then choosing movement and conversation instead of surveillance and accusation. It looks like admitting when you're wrong without turning apology into self-erasure. It looks like discussing expectations before resentment builds a case in secret. It looks like acknowledging fear of loss and choosing standards anyway. The more of you can hold without dumping, the more of her you can hold without drowning. That capacity is rare. Rare is addictive. Kindness, when it is clean, becomes a multiplier. Men tell themselves that nice guys finish last to avoid admitting they were never kind, they were strategic. Strategic niceness is alone with hidden interest. Clean kindness has no ledger. You open doors, you text to make sure she got home safe. You pay attention to tiny preferences no one else notices, and you do it because it's how you move through the world, not because you're buying a result. Pair that with boundaries, and tenderness becomes strength instead of bait. She learns that your sweetness doesn't come with strings, and your firmness doesn't come with punishment. That combination is rare in a culture addicted to extremes. Extremes get attention. Balance gets devotion. Your environment either supports this gravity or it sabotages it. The room that greets you at night and launches you in the morning is not decoration. It's a contract. If your space whispers chaos, your nervous system drifts toward reactivity, and reactivity drives you to seek sedation in the wrong places. Build a room that nudges you into the man you say you are. Keep surfaces clear. Put books within reach. Lay your training gear where excuses have to climb over it. Calibrate lighting at night so you can sleep. Organize your closet so choosing presents in the morning is easier than choosing panic. She may never see this room. It will still change how you meet her. Alignment is attractive because it collapses the gap between image and reality. The smaller the gap, the stronger the pull. You will be tempted to counterfeit the signals, to reply slower because you read that scarcity works, to share less because someone said mystery matters, to say no just to prove you can. That counterfeit always leaks. Your eyes give you away. Your timing feels off. Your jokes poke instead of play. Your boundaries sound brittle instead of calm. If you want the pull that people call addiction, you must live the substance until the surface becomes inevitable. Don't pretend to be busy building. Don't pretend to have standards, set one and keep it once. Don't pretend to be unbothered, be bothered and choose your response. You can't hack congruence, you earn it. Zoom out and you'll notice how what we're calling addiction is nothing but rhythm. A persistent pattern of signals that tell her she will be safe, seen, sparked, and stretched with you. Safe because your composure doesn't disappear when you're stressed. Seen because your attention lands fully when you're with her. Sparked because your life is moving and she has to move to keep up. Stretched because your standards invite her best instead of tolerating her worst. When a woman finds that rhythm, investing in you feels less like a choice and more like gravity. She'll cancel other plans. She'll mirror your initiative. She'll defend the time you share from the noise that used to chew it up. She'll think about your scent at random hours. She'll send small notes that only two people would understand. None of that is forced. It's the natural response to a man who has become a place. There's still the question of language, because the words you use with yourself shape the man you become. Stop talking about making women addicted. Talk about becoming addictively valuable. So valuable that the person built for you would be a fool to drift. Value is not flex. It's follow-through. It's a bank account that slowly rises. It's a body that can carry groceries and grief. It's a calendar that funds the future. It's friends who'd call you first at 2 a.m. It's mentors whose receipts you respect. It's quiet rituals that no one applauds. It's humor that softens hard days. It's the ability to sit with your feelings without handing someone else the bill. Value concentrates when you say no more often. It brightens when you say yes with your whole chest. It compounds the way interest does, slowly, invisibly, then all at once. You will slip. You'll overtext because silence woke an old fear. You'll say yes to a plan that cuts your sleep thin because loneliness knocked. You'll over-explain a boundary because guilt hijacked your throat. Forgive yourself faster, recalibrate sooner. Replace one weak habit today with one strong ritual tomorrow. Protect one deep work block. Hold one line kindly. Clean one corner. Call one friend who doesn't let you lie to yourself. Put $1 more than last month into the account that represents your future. Read 3 pages. Do 10 push-ups. Send one message with presence instead of 2 out of panic. These are not hacks. They are votes. Identity is simply the total of your votes counted over time. When your identity becomes a man you like, your body stops betraying you in front of women you want. Now watch how this identity sings in a long arc, months in, when novelty fades and the test becomes endurance. You keep training, Not because you're on the market, but because strength is hygiene. You keep learning, not because status demands it, but because curiosity is oxygen. You keep initiating dates that feel like you thought for 5 minutes rather than 2. You keep reducing screen noise so presence remains possible. You keep asking better questions. You keep telling the truth earlier. You keep protecting sleep, money, and attention as if they were your future children. You keep building your world so she is invited into something living, not recruited to resuscitate something dead. That continuity is what most people try to purchase with gestures when the relationship dips. You won't need a grand gesture every month because your daily gestures multiplied into trust. Trust is the soil of obsession. Without it, obsession is a stress disorder. With it, obsession is devotion. There's an odd kindness in all of this that men miss while chasing heat. You are not trying to capture a woman. You are trying to create a climate where the right woman chooses you freely, repeatedly, happily. Hypergamy, the much-debated selectivity of the feminine, stops being a threat and starts being your ally when you live like this. Selectivity filters out what you don't want to build with. It says no to the chaos you would have tolerated when you were starving. It says yes to the one who can match your rhythm without making you smaller. You don't argue with the filter, you feed it with evidence. Evidence is calm on Wednesday at 3 p.m., not fireworks on Saturday night. Evidence is a boundary voiced once and honored twice. Evidence is laughter that remembers to breathe. Evidence is keeping your word when nobody would have noticed if you broke it. If you want a single sentence to carry into the next week, carry this. Make your life so coherent that your attention becomes the rarest thing you give and the best thing she receives. Coherence means your room matches your mouth. Your bank account matches your plans. Your body matches your claimed values. Your friendships match your direction. Your calendar matches your priority list. Your I love you, one day, when it appears, matches a history of I chose you in 100 small ways. When coherence rises, women don't become addicted to you the way someone becomes addicted to a drug. They keep choosing you the way someone keeps returning to a place that finally feels like home with windows open and a door that locks. Tonight, make a vow that no one needs to hear. You will stop chasing highs and start building depth. You will stop using performance to buy affection and start using presence to give it. You will refuse to apologize for your standards and refuse to weaponize them. You will protect sleep like a contract and training like a meeting and deep work like rent. You will give attention like a king, generously, selectively, without fear that scarcity will mean loss. You will reveal yourself at a pace that honors reality. You will hold your emotions with hands strong enough to be gentle. You will be funny without cruelty and firm without coldness. And you will let the wrong people leave because they are proof your filter works. Each kept promise plants a post in the ground. Posts in the ground become a fence line. A fence line becomes a territory. A territory becomes a world. A world becomes a place someone is proud to enter and reluctant to leave. One morning soon, you'll notice what changed. Not that you learned magic words, but that your breathing is slower when she's late. Not that your jokes got better, but that your eyes hold calmly when she looks back. Not that your schedule emptied for romance, but that your schedule made room for a romance worth having. She'll notice too. She'll text first sometimes, she'll plan. She'll bring you a tiny thing you mentioned in passing. She'll ask about the Thursday ritual because she wants to understand the ritual that builds the man. She'll introduce you with pride, not as a trophy, but as a partner she trusts. And when she leans into you on a street at 9:47 p.m., it won't be because you tricked her. It will be because you became the kind of man a woman doesn't want to forget at 11 p.m. or 7 a.m. or 10 years from now when life is heavy and your presence still feels like air. That is the truth behind the title you brought me. Women don't become addicted to men. They become devoted to a certain quality of man, one who lives in a way that makes devotion feel sane. That's the man you're building now, brick by brick, joke by joke, boundary by boundary, rep by rep, night by night. Keep going. When you stand still inside your own life long enough, she won't need to be chased. She'll move toward you because everything in her says, "Don't lose this." And you'll smile because you finally understand the simplest secret of all. You never needed a technique, you needed a life.